What's up, guys? EDA Talk Sports here, back with another video, and this time we're going to be covering the Carabao Cup. We had a number of teams who were playing for a chance to be in the quarterfinals, and we'll be running down on how they performed. First, starting off looking at all of the fixtures and all of the results, you can see how each team performed and who is going through, and we'll cover the draw shortly after. But first, let's get into our first game. Arsenal versus Preston North End. Arsenal were expected to win, and that's exactly what they did. Very comfortable win. Preston didn't really put up much of a fight. If being honest, Arsenal were dominant throughout, as you can see through the stats. 74% percentage, dominated in terms of XG and shots as well. Arsenal probably would have expected maybe a couple more goals. However, you can't be disappointed. Jesus with a goal and assist. You're with two assists, which I wasn't expecting at all, to be honest with you. Ethan Nwaneri with his goal as well, and Kai Havertz, who finished off the scoring. Looking at it from an Arsenal perspective, Gabriel Jesus played well. He's going to have to turn it up a lot more. This was his first goal in around 24-25 games, so hopefully this will continue on his run in form. Hopefully this will spark it, and he will continue to excel. Ethan Nwaneri was really good. His goal that he scored was absolutely unbelievable for a 17-year-old. A lot is expected of him, especially from myself. There were some things in his game where I said, okay, I understand why Mikel might have taken time in bringing him in, because as a central midfielder, there was sometimes he was slightly a bit careless with the ball. But going forward, his creativity, the way he can dribble, the way he can handle the ball, not many within the team can do that. So congratulations to him on a great performance. Kiwior again, defensively was so sound, so solid. 2 assists for him. The way he played the balls forward was really impressive. I really like him, to be honest with you. He can fill in at left back, centre back. I think he needs more game time, more custom. I know he made an error on the weekend. He wasn't the only one, but more game time. I think I trust Kiwior. After what he did last season and the times he's come in this season, I've always been impressed with him. So hopefully he's someone that Arsenal can keep in the squad for a while and still manage to give him game time where needed. Zinchenko came back into the team, didn't really see much of a benefit, if I'm being honest with you. Setford had his debut in goal and was impressive. So it was mainly it from the game. Kai Havertz came off the bench, played well. Saka came off the bench, surprisingly, or not surprisingly if you know Mikel Arteta. And decent performances all round. Arsenal through to the next round, which is good for morale and good for playing time for some of the players who don't play in the Premier League or week in, week out. Next up, Manchester United, their first game after the Ten Hag era. Ruud van Nistelrooy brings back the good times at Old Trafford, beating Leicester City 5-2. Impressive. Beat a Premier League team by that scoreline. Definitely a team in Leicester who probably would have wanted to progress. It may not have been the top of their list. Obviously, Premier League security is at the top of that, but who wouldn't want to win at Old Trafford? And I'm sure they came to play. But Man United run out as winners, 5 goals, which is very, very impressive. From their side, it was similar to what they did against Burnley, so I wouldn't get too excited. But again, winning the game after a tough week for maybe the players, it might have been a celebratory week, we don't know. But to run out as 5-2 winners against another Premier League team can only be impressive. Bruno back in form with 2 goals, Casemiro with 2 goals, and Garnacho with a goal and an assist to top off what would have been a really good night for Man United fans and for Ruud van Nistelrooy. I would say Man United should give him more time. To be honest, I don't see the rush in appointing the sporting manager. You've got Ruud there, he's been a manager before. The fans like him. It seems like he's got the respect of the players as well. So I would stick with him, if I'm being honest with you. Give him until the end of the season, really. There's no rush. Man United are likely not going to achieve much this season, if we're being honest. And so if a manager can get them back into Europe, get some camaraderie built up in the team, I think it would leave them in a good position. But it's up to the board what they want to do, and so hopefully for Man United fans, they make the right decision and don't move either too slowly or too hastily. Next up was Tottenham versus Man City, a game which I think in terms of quality and how the two teams played probably would have been one of the most exciting. Tottenham, who you always give Man City a good game, or most times give them a good game, this was no different. 2 goals, one from Werner and a beautiful goal from Papasar, as well as a goal from Nunez, tied up the scoring for both teams. Tottenham win and will be progressing. Disappointing for Man City, but it got to a point in the game where they knew they weren't going to win, and didn't commit some of their biggest guns, i.e. Haaland, go forward. And I think that's a key thing for, I guess, when you're managing 4 or 5 different cup competitions, to make sure that you don't overstretch and you pick your moments. From a Tottenham team, Kulusevski continuing to ball out, 2 assists for him. He's become a creative hub and spark. He's so much better in that midfield position compared to when he's on the wing. I love him in the midfield, being able to link up. He's a brilliant in-between player. Papa Sarr with the goal, that was a great goal as well. Werner, his confidence will obviously skyrocket after a number of chances that he's missed. This one against one of the best teams in the country should surely boost up his confidence. From a Man City team, didn't really impress me. The setup wasn't ideal. However, Nunez on that wing was giving Gray, Sarr, everybody there a lot of problems. He was very, very impressive. Even outside of the goal, was really impressed with his dribbling, with his ability to beat his man, and he was keeping people on the back foot. And again, long may that continue, because we haven't seen the best out of him since he got to City. Different expectations, but he is a player who can definitely do a job for Man City. It's just about getting him in the right spots, and I think this was one of the occasions where they did. Studies of his familiar central midfield position and out on the wing, and he showed that he can do the job for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how Pep deploys him going forward. Next up, Newcastle versus Chelsea, essentially a rematch of the weekend where Chelsea ran out as 2-1 winners. This time it was flipped at St James's Park and Newcastle ran out as 2-0 winners. This is a common theme when it comes to Newcastle games. They get dominated on possession and on chances, and they still get the victory. Quality team. It's all about, can you win at the end of the day? And Newcastle, for large parts of the season, haven't played their best football. Is it worrying slightly, the fact that they're still able to get results out and perform? Less so, and that should hopefully leave them in good stead. Great job by Nick Pope with the amount of saves that he had to make. Chelsea, who we know create so many chances, their lineup did look different, yes, missing a number of key players, Jackson, Palmer, to name a few. But Newcastle did what they needed to do. Another goal for Isaac, and Newcastle are into the quarterfinals, which I'm sure their fans will be happy about. And this is an opportunity to win a trophy for a fan base who are desperate to win one. Next up, Brighton versus Liverpool. Liverpool progressing through. A couple of late goals from Brighton weren't enough to cancel out a Gakpo brace and a goal from Diaz. And again, Liverpool were a team who have the quality in their team, probably not as many numbers, so they'll plug a couple of gaps with the youngsters where possible. Kwanzaa, Bradley, but they're still a Morton, but still a quality team. You've got the likes of Gomez, Robertson out there, Jones, Diaz, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, and you're still able to get a result and goals for Gakpo, which will, well needed in his pursuit going forward. For Brighton, again, would have loved to go through, too little, too late. But I feel like we've got a really good matchup in the quarterfinals for Liverpool, and it will be a very exciting quarterfinal sled once we get to it. So for Aston Villa and Crystal Palace, unfortunately for Aston Villa, they will be crashing out. 2 goals for Crystal Palace, one from Eze and the other one from Kamada. Crystal Palace having less of the ball, less chances, however getting the victory in what was still a competitive game is very impressive. They look to be finding a little bit of form. Eze finding the back of the net, which is exactly what they need at this point. Eze firing on all cylinders is make or break of this team. Again, really good performances from Eze. Nunez with the assist as well. Using the midfield, who's been really impressive this season as well. Work rate off the charts, and work for ages, and puts in a good shift each and every game. And from an Aston Villa side, Duran with a goal, another one for him. He's playing behind Watkins. How long can he do that for? He's young. He should be patient. He did sign a new contract recently. But again, you keep on scoring, interest will raise, and his expectations of what he should be doing in his career could slowly creep up and exceed what Aston Villa think he should be doing. Now, quickly going into the quarterfinal draws, and I'm gonna pull it up right here just to see who everybody got. But I know from an Arsenal perspective, they will be playing Crystal Palace. Let's just take a look here. Yes, so Tottenham will be playing Manchester United, which would be a very good tie. We know what happens last time these two teams faced. Tottenham absolutely battered them. versus Crystal Palace should be a good game as well. Eddie Nketiah returning to the Emirates. Newcastle versus Brentford, again, going to be really good. Thomas Frank and his team have been performing really, really well and getting results. Newcastle have not been performing that great and still getting results, so it will be interesting to see who comes out on top there. And then Southampton versus Liverpool to round it up. Again, it's too early to predict, but an Arsenal-Liverpool final would be immense, especially after the game that we saw on the weekend. Seeing two highly proficient teams battling it out in a cup final is always good, but you can't rule out Man United or Tottenham or Newcastle or Brentford. You just purely can't. Newcastle were in the final, I believe, last season, so they will be looking to return and to win it this time. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Who was the standout player of the Carabao Cup this match day? Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.